October. And then I found this other picture where it says this person in the cartoon was asked, how's 2020 treating you so far? And the person in the orange, they won like their fourth breakdown for the day, and they were like, okay, maybe next year will be our year. This year, 2020, while it had some good moments, may not have been the best year for everybody. So he shared that maybe 2020 would be his time. That'll be his goal. And then this one I found funny. It has some grammatical errors in it, but it's a picture of a teenager in the future trying to learn all of the things that happened in 2020 for the history final. So I can just imagine years from now, we're teaching our middle schoolers or high schoolers, even college students, all of what transpired in this year from the pandemic to our presidential debates to things being shut down, just trying to summarize everything from this year in a history book and then presenting it to our kids or teens in the future. And then someone said they would describe this year as surprising. So this ties spot on with this slide where it says 2020 every second. And the guy is like, but wait, just when you think you got through one situation, when you think you kind of have a handle on dealing with the one situation, 2020 says, well, wait, there's more. Something is coming next. That's how I feel about the hurricane season this year. I don't know if you guys have realized we're now we've moved on to the Greek alphabet letters for the hurricane season. They said the last time that happened was in about 2005. So that's how I feel about this slide. That's what comes to my mind. And then the last slide is the option of someone shutting down their computer, their desktop, and it has the log off, the lock, and the restart button. I don't know if I would personally click restart for this one because it means that we'll go back to the beginning of the year and we would not necessarily, we'll be back at the point where we're trying to figure out how do we navigate going through a pandemic versus just skipping to next year and hoping that we're at a place where we have a better handle and better manage over the year. So I found those slides. I am curious to see what, CNN, for example, most of our news stations, they do a year in review at the end of each year. I am curious to see what that is going to look like in December or even in January of next year. So let's get to the nitty-gritty of what we're going to talk about. And just a reminder, if you do have questions, if you do have a comment, you can type them in the chat box or you can raise your hand and I may be able to unmute you, or maybe the young lady who allowed me in would be able to unmute you if you can't unmute yourself. So we're going to spend some time talking about how to reduce stress and anxiety and incorporate some self-care and some coping skills in that, some coping strategies in our conversation. So as we said before, these are hard and overwhelming times. I don't know about you guys, but there have been times throughout the pandemic where I just felt like everything was a little too much. Adjusting to working from home, adjusting to having my toddler home for 4 months, adjusting to not being able to go into the store, having to wear a mask 24/7 once you're outdoors, not being able to go to the park. This year was a lot, especially throughout the beginning of the pandemic. So one of the things that we have to be mindful for when we're feeling all of these emotions as we deal with everything that's going on is naming what we're experiencing, naming what we're feeling, how we're feeling, what we're going through, so that we can get help in staying focused. We can stay healthy in both our body, our mind, our spirit, all of that good stuff as we adjust to the changes of our regular schedules and that feeling of uncertainty as well as anxiety. And then it's also important that we know how to manage those feelings. It's important that we have skills in place so that when we feel like we're getting to that point of whether it's our anxiety is we're just not able to calm down or we're not coping well, making sure we have skills that are in place to help us navigate and go through the emotions of whatever we're feeling, so we're not experiencing any type of burnout. And then taking care of our mental health and supporting each other's health allows us, like I said before, to come up with coping skills that will help us during stress and anxiety while protecting our immune system and our physical health. So I do want to give you guys a chance to participate in a quick activity. If you're using your phone or if you're using a computer, can you guys open a new tab and go to www.menti.com? And I'll give you a few minutes to do that while I switch my screens. So if you're able to, go to www.menti.com, and it's going to ask you for a code. The code that you'll have to input is 174369. And I'll put the website and I'll put the code in the chat box. And then the code 174369. All right. So if you're there at Menti, can somebody give me a thumbs up or something so I can know you guys are able to still see my screen and access menti.com? And I'm going to go to it on my phone as well so I can see what you're seeing. All right. 174369. Okay. So if you're there and you've entered the code, the question that popped up on your screen is, how do you practice self-care? And it gives you a chance to enter 5 different answers. So if you're seeing, I'm going to turn my screen so you can see what it looks like. This is what my screen, you can't see my screen like that because I have a background on, but I'm seeing answers coming in. So I'll give a few more minutes to answer the question, how do you practice self-care? And I see someone said, I see exercise, long showers, Netflix, sleep, read. I'm going to put mine as well. Okay, I'm seeing more answers coming in. I just submitted my answers as well. Okay, I'll give another few seconds for us to answer the question. I'm seeing cooking, baking, music, resting, relaxing, massages, eating well, cleaning, beautifying yourself. That's important. Spending time with family. These are very good answers. Great. And I can save this. Oh, there's some answers coming in. I can save this sheet and I can also give it to Mrs. Shadaran Felix so she can have an idea of some of what we covered today. So I'm seeing some more cooking. So I want movies. Awesome. Okay. Let me exit this and then let me pull the PowerPoint back up. All right. So these are all very good answers. Thank you guys for participating in the little icebreaker, the little activity. So how do we maintain mental health? In addition to all of the good answers that you guys have provided, I came up with a list of 5 things. And of course, this is not a comprehensive list, so it will not cover every mental health routine, self-care activity that you can think of. But there are five items that I think are really important. So the first one is remembering our basic needs. I saw a lot of beautifying yourself, resting, eating healthy. Those are extremely, extremely important. Spending time outside if possible, while maintaining a safe distance from others, having a good diet, journaling, meditation, breathing. So since we've been in lockdown, I have started journaling a lot more than I usually do. I journaled a lot before when I was younger, but the busyness of life and everything going on, I fell off. But journaling and exercising have been two things that have helped me to kind of maintain a balance, a healthy balance as we've been navigating through 2020. The second thing I came up with is prioritizing self care and stress relief. And you guys gave all great answers of what that looks like for you. A third tip that I came up with is staying connected with our friends, our family, and other members of our community, whether it's via phone calls, FaceTime, text messages, social media. So I know a lot of us have been participating in, or some of us have been participating in Zoom parties. So this year in our family, this year was supposed to be a big year for us because my mom made 60 in August, I made 30 in May, and we were planning to go down to Florida and have one big celebration for both of us. That did not happen, but what we ended up having as a family a Zoom party for my mom. So I created a Zoom link. I mailed a bunch of decorations for my mom. She set her background up. I ordered cake. My mom is in the Virgin Islands. I ordered cake. We had cake delivered. We had food delivered. And although we were all in different places, we had a really great time connecting with family, connecting as friends, and making that moment special for her. Another good tip that I think is really critical is taking breaks from news stories and social media. Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I have what I call social media fast, where I completely disconnect my Facebook page. I'm not really on Instagram or Twitter, but I disconnect my Facebook page for at least 2 weeks to a month just to give myself a chance to not see all of what's happening on Facebook, whether it's the VI Consortium news or whether it's the local news where I'm living or it's the national news or Caribbean news. I take what I call social media fast so that I'm able to stop bombarding myself with everything that's happening in the world and instead focus on things that uplift my spirit and make me happy and things that are positive. So that's a good way that we can maintain our mental health. And then on the fifth tip that I came up with is avoiding self-medicating to cope with life challenges. So currently the part of the work that I do is focused on substance abuse prevention. And a lot of a big issue that we're having now in Houston, where I live, is that much like other states throughout the country, our bars have been shut down. They're just now reopening, but our regular restaurants have been selling alcohol to go. So, in addition to selling alcohol to go, and in addition to people purchasing more alcohol because they're at home versus, going to the bar. We have been having some major issues on our highways because of whether it's persons driving under the influence of alcohol or under the influences of meth or other prescription drugs. So this slide in particular talks about coping positively with what we're feeling without using substances to kind of ease our mind or ease whatever we have going on. So the first point says what initially begins as social, casual, or experimental use of alcohol or other substances can escalate into what is called substance use disorder, which requires treatment and other assistance. And then substance use can why am I mumbling on my word? But it can increase symptoms of mental health condition, which lead to the development of an addiction, which perpetuates the feeling a person wants to escape in the first place. So here we see instead of taking a substance to cope with an issue, it can increase whatever the issue is we're trying to escape in the first place. And then over time, repeated substance use can lead to changes in the brain that affect impulse control and decision making. And these result in changes in the brain, which end up impairing our ability to make reasonable decisions about substance use. And then, in its most serious form, a substance use disorder causes significant impairment at school and in relationships that we have, which sometimes result in life threatening effects on physical and emotional well being. And then I'm looking at my time as well. We have 5 minutes left already. So, something that nobody tells us about self-care. And I found this quote I found when I was reading an article a few months ago. And it says, what social workers and other people don't often tell us is that self-care can be completely terrible. It includes a lot of adulting, and I know we probably have all seen memes and jokes about adulting and the content failing to load because adulting is hard and it can be hard. But self care sometimes means making tough decisions which we fear others will judge. It involves asking for help, which I know makes us feel vulnerable at times. It involves being painfully honest with ourselves and with loved ones about what we need. But we know that it's so important because, like the slides before that I covered, it's important so that we can maintain and keep control of our mental health and things that are going on around us. Some other self care practices that I jotted down here: awareness, balance, and connection. And with awareness, it speaks about being quiet sometimes in our busy lives to develop an awareness of what's really going on, what our true needs are, and then kind of seeing what we need to do to take care of what our needs are. Another good point that I jotted down is creating a balance between our physical needs, our emotional needs, our psychological needs, our spiritual needs, and also our social and communal aspects, which routinely becomes a part of our lives and a part of self-care. And then this quote is from Laura van der Noot Lipsky. And it says, when it speaks about connection, it says less distraction, more intention, disconnect less, be present more, less attachment, more curiosity, less depletion, more stamina when to step away. And these, of course, tie into all of the great ideas that you guys shared at the beginning when I asked the question, what do you do to practice self care? And then the final slide that I jotted down, and I know I've been moving pretty fast, kind of just highlighting some of the tips quickly, but I wanted to provide you guys with some resources that are available if you or someone you know is struggling emotionally or having a hard time coping during this period of uncertainty that we're going through. And these tips are not only important for 2020 as we go through the national worldwide pandemic, but it's important just about every day, every year, every season that we go through. So the first resource that I jotted down is for Mrs. Dahlia Sridharan. It's her contact information, her number, her email address. And then I copied here a number that gives you access to free counselors, professional trained counselors. It's the stat. It's you'll have to text start to this number, and they also have a 1-800 number that gives you direct access to counselors, the 1-800 Quit Now number, and then the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number. And then these are the references and the resources that I used to put together today's presentation. I'm looking at the time. I'm trying to make sure I hustle through so I get to the last slide. So do you guys have any questions about anything that was covered? I know I went extremely fast. It was a lot of information, but do you have any questions about anything that was covered? And you can use the chat box feature as well. Oh, you're welcome, Talisa. And I can share this PowerPoint with Dahlia. So in the event you guys would like a copy of the tips so that you can review them, I can provide her with the PowerPoint so that you can have access to these tips. And I can see some typing going on, so I'll give just a few more minutes. Yes, I am with you exactly. As a mom, Talisa said, as a mom, graduate student, full-time worker, it is definitely, there are tips that are all great, all needed continually. You're welcome, Miss Myers. I wish we had more time, but I tried to put as much as possible into the PowerPoint for a half an hour presentation. And hopefully, I was supposed to be in St. Thomas this year. That is not going to happen, unfortunately, but I'm hoping next year I can come home and I'll be able to stop by and see you guys. Thank you. Oh, thank you. And Mrs. Rivers, thank you to you because I remember when you called me and told me about that CSAP fellowship program that I joined back in 2011.
I know
I don't know if
exactly.
you remember that.
I do remember that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so proud of you. No?
Thank you.
And you have a little one.
Yes, I do. I dropped him at daycare this morning
Uh-huh.
because I would not be able to do this with him and I here.
Right.
But yeah, he made two. I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of him. He made two on Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
And he is a busy too, Mrs. Rivers. He is.
There's bunch of joy. Enjoy him at that stage.
Will do. Thank you so much. Okay, I think I'm going to end this because I know the next session isn't until this afternoon. So I'll
Okay.
wait for, I think Talisa's typing something and then I'll close this session.
All right. Take care.
Likewise, take care. Good seeing you.
We have your contact information.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.